Okay, the other day we talked about inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning is patterns. Okay? Figuring things out from patterns. And inductive reasoning is basically a guess. Deductive reasoning uses rules like theorems and postulates and other statements to make a logical conclusion. Okay, so deductive reasoning, we go step by step by step figuring things out. Now, we'll have two laws today, the law of detachment and the law of syllogism. The law of detachment says if a hypothesis leads to a conclusion and we know the hypothesis is true, then the conclusion has to be true. Okay? So this makes up very basic statements that are very easy to follow. Okay? Like this. If Alicia scores 85 or greater on her test, she will earn an A in her final grade. Alicia scores an 89 on the test. So then what do we logically know, Ainsley? Then Alicia will get an A in her final grade. Simple as that. Straightforward. This is straightforward stuff today on this lesson. Okay, if a number is a factor of 8, then it's a factor of 64. 2 is a factor of 8. So then what do we know about 2, Maddie? It's a factor of 64. Okay? All right, the other one is a long definition, but again, it's pretty straightforward, the law of syllogism. So it's a rather long definition. It's a law of logic that states that given two true conditionals, with the conclusion of the first being the hypothesis of the second, then there's a third conditional having the hypothesis of the first and the conclusion of the second. So it'll all make sense here in a little bit. All right, so the law of syllogism. If a hypothesis leads to a conclusion, and then that conclusion is the hypothesis of another statement, and that leads to a conclusion, the first hypothesis leads to the final conclusion. Such as, if your name is Ella Peterines, then you're a pole vaulter. And then the second statement would be, if you are a pole vaulter, then you're fearless. So the first statement, if your name is Ella Peterines, leads to the last statement, you are fearless. Because we all know Ella is fearless. She'll do anything. So, if Kenji plays the trumpet, then he plays a brass instrument. If he plays a brass instrument, he's a member of the marching band. So what would be the third statement that would come from that, Tayton? If Kenji plays a trumpet, he's a member of the marching band. That would be the third statement. Because if the first leads to the second, and that second is the first of the second one, then yeah. Okay. Looking at this one, now we're combining the law of syllogism and the law of detachment all in the same problem. If you're climbing a mountain at an altitude of 28,500 feet or higher, then you're climbing the tallest mountain above sea level on Earth. If you're climbing the tallest mountain above sea level on Earth, then you're on Mount Everest. So, see how the first or the conclusion of the first one is the hypothesis of the second one. So then, if you are climbing a mountain this many feet or higher, then you are on Mount Everest. So then, using the law of detachment, you see that you are climbing a mountain at an altitude of 29,000 feet. What do you know in the end, Christian? You already know you're climbing the tallest mountain. Which mountain are you climbing? You're climbing Mount Everest. Okay? If you live in Atlanta, then you live in Georgia. If you live in Georgia, then you live in the United States. Amelia lives in Atlanta. What do we know about Amelia, Maria? She lives where? She lives in the United States. That's all that section's about. Very basic, straightforward. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 20 minutes to work on this. It's out there already, isn't it? I think it's out there. So you get started on this. The second section's much more difficult, time consuming. We have to think a lot more. This first section, straightforward. So get to work on it. Should take you about 20 minutes at the most. Some of you will take about 10 minutes.
Just attach a link. Which one?